What's up, guys? In this video, I want to show you an actual practical case study in terms of how we actually, first of all, increase the hit rates for this ad account like crazy, and how we actually had a system that we then implemented and developed that we then basically laid off and outsourced completely to a whole entire creative team. Specifically, in terms of a little bit of proof, right? We scaled to over $400,000 in active MRR with this brand, okay? And so that's kind of what I'm going to break down in this video. So the first thing that we did is the hook test, right? Once again, if you're new to this channel, if you've never heard me talk about the hook test ever before, what it is just a way to increase your hit rates by testing image ads that are just one by one images with only text in the middle. So white background, no visual on it, just text. And you spend like a couple dollars each, for example, $2, and then you look for ones that have a 7% plus CTR. And only those are the ones which you actually move on to an actual creative test. So in this case, obviously you want to look for ones that don't have an inflated CPM either. So usually it's $70. This one all is below 70, so this is fine. And then, but in this case, for example, here, all of these on the bottom you wouldn't actually take because they're not good enough. You already know that they're not going to have the same performance. This is specifically going to be an image ad video, okay? So what you have to break down is, okay, well, you have these hooks here. These are 5 in this case, and so these 5 hooks, they are going to actually be the ones that we're going to then transition to an actual creative test. Now, how does a creative test system function properly, right? So when you figured out the copywriting, you know exactly which hooks are good and which ones are bad and which ones you should actually move forward. This is the easy part. This is where most people get caught up, because now, okay, well, what do I do now? Well, now you go back to research again, because now what you're going to do is you're going to brief. You're going to make a brief document, a so-called brief doc, which I use, which is going to be looking somewhat like this, okay? You have your concept breakdowns, and then you have a little bit of like, obviously everything linked so that your team can, see everything. And then you're going to essentially put in here into the ad visuals, the actual, for example, the competitor ad that you want to replicate. And then you do a bunch of different times, and you do it as often as many winning hooks as you have. And so what you're going to then do is you're just going to cycle through all the winning hooks that you had, each and every concept that you find, okay? And so how that specifically is going to look like is you're going to hop into the ads library, and you're going to basically look for concepts, right, that essentially are either, right, the longest running for your competitors. So scroll all the way down, right, and see, okay, active ads, longest running, which image concept is it? Second thing is the most active assets are used in that creative, okay? That's also something which the ad library just tells you. Pro tip, if you have EU competitors or people that are running ads to the EU, they actually have in the ads library, you can just literally see how many how much reach and how many impressions every single country has for every single one of their ads. EU has to leak that data. And then also the coolest thing is if you see a competitor and see which concept they're iterating on the most, once again, that's a fantastic sign to actually validate the concept before putting it here. And so ideally you want to do, let's say you have 5 winning hooks as here, you want to do like 3 to 5 different concepts, okay? And so you're going to end up, right, with around 15 to 25 total ads that are then going to test in a CBO against each other, okay? Very simple. Now, ideally, what this brief doc is good for is just so you have a system behind it, and so you know what you did and when you did it, and then when you go back to this, or your team members go back to this, they can understand which variables actually worked and ended up not working, okay? Super important. Now, when we fill out this brief doc and we do the research in terms of which visuals should we actually take and replicate, you're actually going to basically look for 4 different visual types for your ads, because there's always these 4 different visual types when we're talking about image ads. And so we have the product focused visual, we have the problem focused visual, then we have the outcome focused visual, and then we have the mechanism focused visual. So these are the 4 different ones, and I'm going to break down exactly how they look like. So this one specifically is going to be the product focused one, right? Very simple to analyze, very simple to break down. Essentially what this is just a visual type, right, that kind of just breaks down for you guys only the product. So it's only showcasing the actual product with the winning hook, right? Nothing else. It usually has some features and benefits pointing to it. Obviously, we have a little logo disqualifier, have a little bit of objection handling here. We have a sub headline. You don't need none of these things. All you actually need is the visual, right? That it focuses only on the product. This is the most disqualifying so-called concept. And the reason why is because this has nothing to do with anything unawareness. Okay, so this is not unaware, this is not problem aware, even though the hook is, right? And what this is actually going to be is this is going to speak to people who are already open to look for new solutions to solve their problems. So at least solution aware, right? Because if you look at the hook, it's problem aware, but this is just a product picture. And so it's very aware. This ad is going to convert well. The hard part in product focused visuals is getting good CPCs, right? right? Now, the problem focused one is the other way around, because this one has nothing to do with the product, right? This is going to be essentially just a problem focused visual. Sometimes doesn't even have a hook on it. I like to still put text and hooks on this one just because it performs better. Again, if you have done a hook test, which performs somewhat like this, it's not going to perform worse if you have text on it, okay? It's just going to convert better and sometimes even get better CTRs. But the hard part here is converting. It's very easy to get good CPCs on a visual like this. Other way around here, remember that, okay? Then we have the outcome focused visual, which is obviously just the opposite of a problem focused visual, but it's the same conversion rate issue, right? So usually this is also a little bit difficult to convert with. Again, we usually add in headlines and the winning hooks in there too. Just keep that in mind. But essentially what the visual is just focusing on is actually what it looks like when you reach the dream outcome. So that's the main difference to the problem focused one. And then in my opinion, one of my favorite ones is going to be the mechanism focused visual. And so this is like product in use. This is, like someone actually struggling with the the pain of change, right? So someone using the product and struggling with it, or actually starting to see the first results. Or what I like to do as well is comparisons, specifically before and after comparisons, right? So this is a very simple before and after concept here. Obviously you see the black and white picture, and then you see the colorful picture, right? So very simple. I like to have the hook on top, by the way, and have the before and after on the bottom. This is just my personal preference, but this is essentially the system of how you can actually make image ads that are doing extremely, extremely well, and how you can increase your hit rates. And I want to say thank you so much for giving me your most important asset, which is your attention. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. I wish you a beautiful day.